Hi guys, I'm at the port in incessant waiting and I'm getting really anxious because I'll have to wait for a couple of hours. Sometimes, I feel like sharing some of the world events which are unfolding. They're not over very positive in the sense that, especially worldwide, some of the education institutions are being targeted as if they are the hotbed of or seat of contentions, and polarized think tanks like in the US, the prestigious institutions like Harvard and other institutions, most of the institutions, like, they are being either defunded or they are being targeted as if they have been propagating and students are involved in some sort of protest movements, especially anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. But given the scenario, the world scenario, where there's lots of injustices and mayhem going on, especially in those places which the world leaders are doing nothing. I mean, like, UN is already a defunct body. World leaders are doing nothing. They just happen to negotiate one after other, breaching the contracts and breaching the agreements reached over decades, and violations of ceasefires multiple times and hundreds of times, as Israel has claimed to have. And the other party also unrelenting. And this is leading to a triggering mass starvation, famine. Almost thousands and thousands of children are dying for want of food, and it's a total chaotic situation where even the internal political circles in the Knesset, they aren't happy with the way things are moving. And majority of the nations, they have raised their eyebrows only. They're not taking any concrete actions. UK, France, European Unions, and all these countries are definitely, in favor of grinding this crisis to a halt by either political vetting or by sanctions or isolations of Israel, which is not paying attention to or paying heed to any warnings of any sort. And that's why, internally, the regime is on the brink of collapse and cracks, and have been mass protests and even the internal coteries or so forth, favors of they're giving up, because there's no end of this plight, at least in the coming of foreseeable future. So, and amidst this crisis, Trump, he has come up with a plan of his own, asking for almost a new Palestine Rivera, which is highly obnoxious, an idea which is like despicable. How could you think of a sovereign nation being turned into a piece of cake? And most of the these nations, like, they want it to be sliced, and they have their stakes, because I don't know what are they up to and what kind of resources they're going to. But the whole idea of turning this Palestine into tourist destinations of and the modern buildings, and because it's totally destroyed. Of course, any country will have to go all out for reconstructions, and it's not like it's a rehabilitations kind of recreations or redefining the whole concept of nation building. So Egypt has declined and is not a party to and I don't know, this quagmire, the kind of stalemate is reached. There is any viable solutions except that the solutions which has been mooted for decades now, the two-state solutions, that's the only viable solutions, and all the parties have to be brought to the table and kind of recovery or restorations or the faith and trust, and the aids are being blocked, and UN has failed in its mission because it has lost so many personnels, and the aid is trickling in. It's like a peanut in the ocean. It's like a drop in the ocean. It's a peanut, and 2 million people are on the brink of total demise. In fact, the whole and it's heart-rending, gut-wrenching, and I don't see any consolations in the part of the world leaders to join hands. And of course, there have been international court of justice rulings over, and then South Africa has been taken the lead in, and this war crimes and criminal justice systems, and they all have come to a knot. And how come the world bodies, they're all becoming defunct, and it has not been able to offer any viability of any ensuing amicable solutions to be reached by any means. So all the efforts being made by countries like Qatar and all that, they're all giving up on the front because fighting is still going on and there's no end of the plight. So the thing is that if the world bodies are losing its teeth and its obligations of protection and defense and bringing warring nations to the negotiation table, and also resolutions and calling for ceasefire or cessations of these hostilities, because today or tomorrow there has to be kind of end game. I really am aghast. I'm at a loss that what's the end game of this? Whether because Israel hasn't achieved anything substantial to claim. It has been able to bring back some of the hostages, and also there have been exchanges of hostages, but still the job is incomplete. And this is not just an exchange of those prisoners. It's all about a handful of 200 people who have been abducted or forcibly taken hostages, and now 2 million people are being sacrificed in the altar of this exchange of hostilities and animosities. They have been living for so many decades as peaceful neighbors. What's wrong with now, like the lead role played by the other party, the other factions, Fatah and all that? They are like handicapped now, because it's all about Hamas, the lead, because they have the political say and they have the backings, and they're not going to backtrack until they are sure of, and the very idea, the objective of cleansing those anti-elements or those organizations hasn't shown any sign of success so far. So this stalemate, this imbroglio, only some of the sensible political leaders or the UN as charter of only UN and the other agencies, like UNRWA, which is UN, eight agencies, they have given up. Loads of trucks and waiting at the border, and the kind of, because Israel claims that whatever food supply is being offered is getting into the hands of the wrong, Hamas people and terrorist organizations, and now they don't want it to happen because it's to support those anti-elements. But the thing is that this is a pretext of letting thousands, millions of people starving, and the children going, unfed, and there's an absolute malnutrition. There is absolute, famine. There is going to turn into diseased children and will cripple and mayhem and maimed, and so this is only Almighty God knows what is in the offing and what is the, because Netanyahu is also losing his own confidence, and his esteem is like, it's an all-out effort at saving his governance and saving his skin, his political image, because even U.S. is not in a mood to continue supplying those kind of tacit or latent or blatant support has been doing. Like Biden administration was all out, but this administration appears to be have hoodwinked and has turned a blind eye to what's offering, and he's up to he's like a trades person. He's into making money. He wants the U.S. economy to recover. He has a single agenda to bring back the business back to almost the company, and his tariff regime has also not resulted in a very good dividends, because his tariff is terrific, and he has been tumbling, and he has been coming up with bizarre ideas of reducing, raising, or country-wise, and so it's not a well-mooted, well-thought-out plan of how this tariff is going to, really result in better business deals with the countries and nations. And so retailers are in the U.S. market is going down the drain, and the shelves are empty. And most of the companies, they have to think twice before them, because the tariffs is so high that any commodity or product is getting exorbitantly expensive and is out of reach of the commoners. And then there's no more that, it's a crisis critical economic juncture that the U.S. is, because many of the companies, they are quitting, and majority of the countries, he wants the iPhone to be back in the US, he wants all the car companies to be back in the US, and whatever products are getting into the US is imposing hefty penalty with the tariff, and that makes the stuff so expensive that it's pointless arguing about commoners and people that. And another thing is that he's after all these education institutions, and he wants all the fundings to be stopped altogether, because they say that these are business conglomerates and they're making money. Actually, the top brains in the U.S. has been in the forefront, has retained supremacy, simply because the best brains are being bred here through these world constitutions. Like 40% of the world think tank or geniuses, they are being accorded the best kind of education. The research is going on in the US alone. And if the institutions, they don't thrive, and the students, they lose their research interests, and has been clamped down the migrations, and people are afraid of even traveling to the US these days, because at the airport many of the genuine cases, they have been harassed from Australia. So when it comes to tourism, tourists are thinking twice, because even with valid visa and validation and all the papers, at the airport you have to wait for your luck, because you can be questioned and you can be repatriated, you can be denied visas, extension, you can be denied, entry into, and not only that, you can be penalized and you can be handcuffed, you can be searched, you can be, so it's a precarious state of because it takes so many years, the world government, world leaders, to come up with the institutionalized, systematic bureaucracy. And if you are challenging the bureaucracy and bring about altogether a new system in place, violations of all the, so now people are in a disarray, and this is like, the whole world is simply watching the moves, and every day Trump administration is coming with slapping of either tariffs or taxes, or disbanding, or closing down or clamping down the education institutions, and institutions like Harvard. And it's not ordinary institutions of sort, so I really wonder if there's something similar happening in India as well, because many of the classic institutions in the university, like Jawaharlal University, Delhi University, are being targeted by certain groups, and they are being disciplined in the name of leftists or righties, or promotion of the right-minded or left-minded, or some principles that go against the ongoing governance. So education institutions are primarily meant for promoting intellectual propriety, given freedom of expression, where intellectuals, they join their heads, and they always promote research-based scientific inventions, innovations, and so if the researchers and the educations they're not allowed to operate freely and without aggressive policies, and to counter their genuine pursuits of the knowledge, and it's a sad end of this intellectual pursuit per se. So we need the other is to allow the freedom of expression, freedom of pursuing the kind of knowledge seeking with the technological advancement, of course in tandem with the traditional practices that have been in force so far, and in the modern era, there's no room for such kind of clamp down, such kind of gagging or muzzling of the minds, the brilliant minds, and the world over has seen this advancement simply because top brains think tanks, they have been mooting, they have been coming out. And the government has, of course, opened up institutions like IIT, MIT, and so we're proud of such institutions, because institution grooms the bodies and the minds of the geniuses who otherwise would have rotten in certain places and wouldn't have thrived or come up with all kind of innovative ideas, innovations, and all over that's happening. So it's really disheartening to see the scenarios changing all over. And it pains me to see that, world bodies, world governments, they are really, they are at a loss. They don't know how to pursue the so far held belief systems, age-old practices, and how to innovate and go forward with the right-minded, right kind of, like well-intentioned, well-meaning moves by. So there has to be some sort of recalibration, redefining of, and there has to be some sort of robustness of the democratic setup. Democracy has thrived and is the best form of government simply because it allows people to cast their votes, to choose their leaders, to go for vetting of the right kind of moves, and also allowed to prosper with the self integrity, self-esteem, self reclamation. So I'm hoping that in the last 50 years the world has been able to achieve peace, and there has been no major debacles in the form of world wars and all that, despite having stockpiles, nuclear and expiles to all of the nations and the 6, 7, 8 countries that have stockpiles. But we have been able to have, pursue the peace through intercontinental agreement, and we have been under check. Even Russia is flexing muscle strength. Has gone all out in bombarding, Ukraine is in a bad shape, and even Trump has left Ukraine in a lurch. So where lie the solutions? Why are we beset with thorns of discontent and thorns of breach of the contracts and breach of the faith and trust? The need of the hour is to restore our faith in democracy. We need to restore our self-esteem, and we need to strengthen the very fabric of the democratic setup, and also the force of the media should also be a part of the democratic processes, because if it doesn't play its role, that's a fourth pillar of democracy. It fails in it, and it's only become the mouthpiece of the government. It's not going to strengthen democracy, it weakens it, and it's worse than any form of government. So my best wishes to all those right-minded people or political leaders, and those who are all out for, and those who really change the course of the world in a true sense, with the technological advancement, with the trillion dollar economies, and with the kind of technological prowess that they have, and over the years they have developed the nations. So they should work for a removal of disparities, of distress, of poverty, of famine, of bringing health and education to the masses, instead of scribbling and feuding and bringing more animosities and more confrontations. So confrontation do not pay off at all in the long run. There have been instances where these governments in the Middle East, they have taken the right moves, and they're all out for the strengthening the economy, and they're going all out for having a modern state machinery, modernity, and with their visions, and with their taking the lead in AI infrastructures. Like UAE has signed a deal with a 200 billion of AI infrastructure, and perhaps the world's biggest AI infrastructure that's being mooted. And also Saudi Arabia has gone for a 20 billion deal for AI infrastructure, which is going to be the growth engine of the next coming couple of decades. And if we are lagging behind in the technological advancement, we are not going to resolve our basic human predicaments, and our issues remain unresolved. So my best wishes to all the world heads, the government, and also to the right-minded peace-loving people, for the promotion of peaceful prosperity and justice for all of them, including the marginalized and compartmentalized, and those people who are on the brink of utter devastations and desolations. Thank you so much for being with me.